All right, this afternoon, the Trump campaign senior legal team, led by former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, held a press conference with the latest on the president's fight to count every legal vote. He joins us now for an exclusive interview. Former New York City Mayor, President Trump's attorney. Mr. Mayor, always good to see you. Thank you.
Sean, always good to see you, too.
We know certain things did happen, right? We know this week alone we found
sure do.
Thousands of ballots out of thin air, which a couple of weeks after the election should concern everybody, but not Democrats and not the media. We know, for example, that observers, one after another, on record saying that the law wasn't followed that allows them to watch the entire counting process. We know that happened. Now the question is, you got a high bar because you got to win not one but 3 states. Lay out the legal arguments.
Okay. Well, Sean, it was a national conspiracy. It wasn't just 3 states, it was 10 states. It's impossible that in Pittsburgh and in Philadelphia and in Detroit and in Milwaukee and in Phoenix, the Democratic leaders woke up on November 3rd and said, we're going to shut all the Republicans out. We're going to put them in chutes. We're not going to let them see absentee ballots. When for 100 years we all look at absentee ballots. This had to come from someplace in the Biden campaign as an instruction to all of them, because in 10 jurisdictions, and they picked crooked Democratic cities to do it in, where they could get away with it, they stole probably about 2 million votes. And
but here's the legal bar. How do we get it in court? How do we have standing? And what's the remedy? And how do you, when I said 3 states, I meant you have to flip 3 states to have a change in the result of the election, which is a Herculean effort.
You do it a couple of ways. So we have a federal lawsuit in Pennsylvania. We have 2 federal lawsuits in Michigan, one of which we dismissed today because we got what we wanted out of Wayne County. We've got a lawsuit in Wisconsin. We have a lawsuit in Nevada to turn around the elections. We're about to have one in Georgia, probably going to be filed tomorrow at the latest on Saturday. Massive lawsuit, massive cheating, kind of on the scale of Pennsylvania and Michigan. And here's the thing about it, Sean, that should frighten the American people. It's very similar. The Democrats did the same thing in 10 cities, and it's cities they control. It's cities that are crooked. It's cities in which they have judges who make ridiculous decisions in favor of the Democrat Party. It's cities that have a long history of corruption, mayors going to jail, voter fraud. I mean, there are more voter fraud convictions in Philly than there are assault convictions at Philadelphia Eagle football games. I mean, it's a profession in Philadelphia. So here's my question, though. They picked the cities where they could get away with it, and they tried to pull off the big heist. And we caught them. And we're going to prove it. Court by court, we're going to prove it, and we'll take it to the Supreme Court.
Now, do you believe that the proof is in the affidavit signed by the people that so far that you've gotten? Will that reach the high bar that a court would need?
Well, my goodness, Sean, we've got about 250. I don't think I've ever gone to a case with 250 affidavits. What does the affidavit mean? The affidavit means that the person signed under oath under penalty of perjury. If I'm lying, I go to jail for 5 years. I'm pretty confident they'll testify to the same thing on the witness stand. And tell me, is there any Biden person who has gone under penalty of perjury? My goodness. You know, we've been talking about the $40 million from China, the $14 million from Ukraine, et cetera. Have they gone under penalty of perjury on anything? I mean, they don't get asked any questions, Sean. We got people here that ask tough questions. They're ready to testify, and they're ready to point the finger at the Bidens and say you're a bunch of crooks trying to take over our country and destroying our right to a free, fair, and honest election. And that, I mean, that's a sin. That's not just a crime. That's a sin. To do that to America, the greatest democracy on earth, they are disgracing us in the eyes of the world.
So finding ballots 2 weeks after the election The states that tried, like we're seeing in Wisconsin, Reince just reporting about changing rules like they tried to do in Pennsylvania. By the way, after the election is held, observers that can't observe, you know, the things that we see that we know and that people have testified to, you know, look, I'm not the lawyer. And you add all this together, and I would think that a court would be interested in understand why would you try to change the rules? Why are we finding ballots after the fact? You know, how is it possible that observers weren't allowed to observe when it's written into the statutory language? I've always thought that was a big deal. Maybe I'm wrong. Following the law, if I feel,
Sean,
why do I
Sean,
feel like if I spit on the sidewalk, I'm going to jail? You couldn't even prevent it.
Sean, I've been involved in numerous absentee ballot contests. I've never heard one in which the Republican was excluded or the Democrat was excluded. They accomplish this nationwide in the 10 cities that are corrupt cities that they control. That's part of their plan here. In order, this whole mail thing was really done so they could steal the election. They knew they couldn't beat him. He destroyed them at the ballot box on Tuesday. He was ahead by 800,000 votes in Pennsylvania. He was ahead by 300,000 votes in Michigan. He was ahead by 400,000 votes in Wisconsin. You don't make up these leads, honestly. They went into panic mode. And that's where they made mistakes, because that's where we picked up our witnesses. At 4:30 in the morning, 3 or 4 big trucks pulled into the Detroit Center. There were 3 people left behind who were honest. 2 of our people and a Dominion employee. We have their affidavits. Here's what they saw. They saw a big truck bringing in 100,000 ballots in garbage cans, in waste paper baskets, in cardboard boxes, and in shopping baskets. And every single one of them was for Biden. And to the extent that they looked at them, it was only for Biden, no down ticket. Now, why? Because they didn't have time for a down ticket. All they had time for is Biden, 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 because they were being notified by Smartmatic in Frankfurt that Biden was way behind, and they better come up with a lot more ballots. And we can prove every single thing I just said.
I hope,
give us a chance, we'll prove it.
We don't, my position is this. We don't get this right, we'll never get it right. Only gets worse.
No. Well, if we don't fix this, Sean, we'll never have a free and fair election, at least for the next 30 or 40 years. These people want to destroy us. They're very, very bad people. They're not ordinary Democrats. There are wonderful Democrats in this country. They may disagree with you and me. You know them. Somehow the Democrat Party was hijacked by Clinton, and since then it's gone more corrupt and more corrupt and more corrupt. I wish you the best. All right. America deserves the truth. Cut the head off.
If, by the way, if thousands of ballots this week showed up for Joe Biden, I have a funny feeling the media and the Democrats would have a very different reaction. I'm just guessing. But, all right, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm not trying to cut you off.